It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, welcome in. Get your clothes off. The water is fine, and we appreciate you joining us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 8 today. Hope you're having a great day and a great week out there. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. You can find us now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon/Audible. Any one of those 4 platforms. Just type in Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, and the show will pop up. You can also subscribe, and that way you'll get a notification every time a show goes up. But you know when they go up every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. We do encourage you to live the clothes-free life for all of the right reasons. No exhibitionism, no jumping out of bushes and showing off, nothing like that. No aggressive behavior. That's not even a part of what we do here. Just enjoying the clothes-free life, and we encourage you to join us during this show. Take your clothes off. Listen to it. If you're a full-time naturist, you already have your clothes off. There was no issue with getting them off. They were already off. If you're not a naturist, you're thinking about it, why don't you start right now? And just join us, take your clothes off, and listen to the show. And, of course, as I always say, if you're driving around town, you're at the post office, you're at the grocery store, no. Keep your clothes on there. You can go up and down the aisles, looking for cereal and bread and fruit and vegetables and whatever else you're looking for. You can listen to us, but keep your clothes on. But if you're in a place where you can get your clothes off, go ahead. We have them off here in the studio. We always do. We work in the nude here all of the time. Not a big deal. We walk in, clothes come off, we start working, and we put them back on before we go home. A fairly simple plan to get through the day and enjoy every second of it, and hope you are too. Well, on today's show, of course, we'll have our correspondence report from Lisa Monroe. We're going to have a little fun today, and I'll explain more in just a moment, but basically a few times where we got caught naked, I guess. It's not really true naturism, but the show is called Naked, Nudists, and Naturist. So we'll have a little fun today and have a little story for you to preface all of that, but that's what Lisa Monroe will be coming in today. She and I will share a couple of stories. And we'll also have part 2 of my interview with the terrific Dan Hawkins, who writes under the pen name D.H. Jonathan. And we want you to check him out, dhjonathan.com. Writes naturist fiction. He's also been a life model, an art model, a nude model for 38 years, posing for art classes. Has been now a longtime member every year for the last 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years, Beta Breakers out in San Francisco. And as he said, very few people walk that race naked. He's one of those very few. And his picture is all over the internet. You look for Dan Hawkins, Beta Breakers, and there he is in living color, naked as a jaybird as often as possible. So part 2 of my interview with D.H. Jonathan / Dan Hawkins today. We do get a number of emails, people asking about some of the analytics, where people are listening to us. I'm going to list off a number of countries. And these are the top countries. By that I mean the countries with the most listeners to our show. We have caught on like wildfire, and we really appreciate that. We're doing our best to give you naturist news, naturist information, living the clothes-free life. And we try to make it entertaining and fun as well, so we appreciate you listening. But we are currently heard in the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, Belgium, Belize, Denmark, Germany, Ireland, Israel, Japan, New Zealand, Peru, Switzerland, Netherlands, Hungary, Japan, Sweden, Austria, Hong Kong, Kazakhstan, Puerto Rico, Romania, U.S. Virgin Islands, Italy, India, Montenegro, Guernsey, Norway, Lebanon, Mexico, Ireland, and either Qatar or Qatar, depending on your pronunciation. I usually go with Qatar. Those are the top countries in terms of listeners, and we appreciate all of you, whether you're in one of those countries or one that I did not mention. We do appreciate each and every listener, so thank you for listening. And I'll give you some of the top cities that listen to us, the cities and their surrounding areas. It'd be London. London right now is tied with Atlanta. They are the two cities that listen to us the most, Dallas, Indianapolis, Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, San Diego, Kansas City, Denver, Tel Aviv, Tokyo, Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Auckland, Copenhagen, Sheffield, Norwich, Manchester, Birmingham, Bienne, Brussels, Oldenburg, Nuremberg, Frankfurt, Dublin, Belize City, Lima, Cape Coral, Daytona Beach, Hawthorne, Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando, Tampa, Warner Robins, Lexington, Fayette, Louisville, Baton Rouge, Baltimore, Charlotte, Raleigh, Wilmington, Winston-Salem, Cincinnati, Ardmore, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Westchester, Knoxville, Nashville, Fort Worth, Granbury, Houston, San Antonio, Front Royal. And the list goes on much longer. I'll get the end of the list for you. Fairfield, Connecticut, Sacramento, San Jose, Portland, Seattle, and Toronto. And lots of cities that I left out only in the interest of time. But again, we thank you. We're being heard now around the world, in cities all over the place, in countries all over the place. And glad you're with us. Naked, Nudist, and Naturist, episode 8 today. Well, I want to tell you a quick story. I was chatting online with a couple from the United States. I told them I would not give their state away. I will not give their names away. But they had an incident, a couple of incidents recently. And just wondering if this has ever happened to you, and if so, what you've done about it. They are both naturists, of course. They're always naked in the house. And the garage door was open, facing the street. And the husband needed to go in the garage just to take a trash bag out there or something. Of course, he went out there naked, and he's probably out there, 15, 20 seconds. You go in the garage, you throw the garbage away, you come back in the house. And the neighbor across the street, and a person about their age, they have no children, another married couple. But the woman of the couple across the street called the police. And the police came out and talked and said, hey, you can't be naked in your garage with the door open because people can see you. So first of all, the question is, what kind of neighbor calls the police on their neighbor? Unless it's something really egregious. They stole your car, they're trying to burn your house down. And you call the police on that kind of stuff. But this little stuff, to begin with, little stuff, and, naturism, I don't think that should ever be called in. If you have a problem seeing somebody else's naked body, I can go on forever as to why that's not the problem of the naked person, it's the problem of the other person, but I won't do that today. But why not just go talk to the person? Hey, if you don't mind. Or, here's an avant-garde idea, how about if you just don't look? You just don't look. You don't have to look at every neighbor who goes in their garage, just look the other way. Especially that couple, you can pretty much assume they're going to be naked because everybody apparently in the neighborhood knows they are naturists. So I wonder if that ever happened to you before, and if so, how you dealt with it. No harm, no foul, by the way, on that. Police came out, so just keep your clothes on in the garage, and then they left. And the wife went out once just to get a soft drink, just to get a Coca-Cola. She was naked as well, and of course, there was a complaint made on that too. So we're fighting an uphill battle, but we're winning. We're getting there. There's more acceptance for naturism, so just keep up the good fight, as it were, and just keep enjoying the clothes-free life, but always be careful. I guess that's our words of advice today. We got a nice email from a gentleman named Simon. I want to read that to you today. As I mentioned, I'm a backyard nudist, which suits me fine. Where I live, we don't have a vast network of clothes-free beaches, and as a single male, of course, I understand the concerns women may have. So I just get some rays outside of my private world, enjoying a wine or two. But I enjoy the anecdotes and stories you have mentioned so far on the 2 podcasts I've listened to while hoping to see summer again soon. Do you know even listening to people talk about nudism lifts the spirit? It is a lovely, carefree lifestyle. So thank you again for starting up the podcast. I listen to other ones that you mentioned, and they are enjoyable as well. Kind regards, Simon. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that makes a lot of sense. You sit back and relax and have some iced tea or wine, in Simon's case, whatever you want. and you listen to naturism shows. It does lift the spirits. I'm lifted by listening to others, and I hope you're lifted by this one too, as we discuss the clothes-free life. We also got a note sent to us on Twitter. We have a presence on Twitter. You can check us out, Naked Nudists and Naturists, to find us. Jennifer Hill, our administrative assistant, does most of the messaging on there, but I do the retweeting and posting and liking. But I answer messages as well, and I talk to this couple. Christian Naturism is their name. And they wrote, I just listened to your first episode and it was fantastic. And I'm a podcast junkie, so I feel like I know a good podcast when I hear it. I look forward to hearing more from you in the future. Very nice thoughts, and we appreciate your kind words out there. I also found this article from sorrywv.wordpress.com, written by Japiti. The title of the article is Millions Embrace Nudism as Global Warming Pushes Society Toward Eco-Friendly Lifestyles. His name is Chad Japiti. I don't have time to read the entire article, but the gist of it is I'll read the beginning. In a surprising response to the growing concerns of global warming and its adverse effect, millions of people worldwide have taken a bold step towards an eco-friendly lifestyle by embracing nudism. Oh, yes. This unique trend has families shedding their clothes at home, children playing freely in backyards, and adventurous souls seeking camaraderie at nudist beaches, resorts, and local clubs. The nudist movement, historically rooted in promoting body positivity and self-acceptance, is now intertwining with environmental consciousness, offering a harmonious solution for a greener earth. Many families have decided to adopt a nudist lifestyle within the confines of their homes, reducing their reliance on air conditioning and embracing natural cooling methods. By opting for nudity, families are significantly cutting down on energy consumption, thus mitigating their contribution to greenhouse gas emissions. Moreover, nudism within the home has become a way to reconnect with nature, allowing households to embrace a more minimalistic lifestyle and appreciate the natural beauty surrounding them. Well, how about that? I guess whatever it takes. There's no other way to explain it other than you have to try it yourself, and then you get it. You almost get it right away, and if not right away, certainly within a very small amount of time. You take your clothes off, you just feel better about yourself and about the world around you, and you do that in social situations. Whether you're family, you have some friends over, you go to a nudist or naturist resort, naturist beach, it's all gone. All the pretenses are gone, all the phony stuff is gone, and you're just you, and he is just him, and she is just her. Here we are, literally stripped to the core. We're just beautiful souls interacting with each other. Not trying to outdo each other with a fancier dress or a fancier suit or a more expensive pair of shoes. No. You're just you, you're naked, and you're enjoying the clothes-free life. Now, before we get to bring in Lisa Monroe for her weekly report, I found this article written by a radio station in Shreveport, Louisiana, in the USA, by K94.5, #1 hit music channel, they call themselves. The title is Something You've Done Naked in 5 Words or Less. A lot of their listeners wrote in, so here we go. I'll just read a bunch of them to you. Skydiving. Fell asleep tanning, cops called. Ooh, that's not good. Swam topless, friend's grandpa saw. I don't know if that's good or bad. Ordered from McDonald's drive-thru. Well, I have a McDonald's story coming up for you in just a few moments. I skinny dipped in the Red River. Honduras monkey bite Mexican Z-Pack. UPS driver unexpected, wasn't husband. Frio River, cold and caught. Letting dogs in, sheriff was outside. Roach and robe, front yard stripper. I don't know what that means, but somebody got naked. That's a gal named Tiffany. So there are all kinds of naked stories out there. Times you got naked when it was just flat out fun. Times you got seen naked by accident, and we don't advocate that. We don't advocate, hey, I'm naked, everybody look at me. No, that's a totally different thing away from naturism. But sometimes it happens. It just happens in life. It's happened to me numerous times throughout my life. Never intentional, just things happen. And maybe someday we'll get into some of those stories. I do have one coming up for you when we talk to Lisa Monroe in just a few moments. In fact, we'll bring her in right about now. I just want to remind you, you're listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. And we thank you for tuning in today for episode 8. So let's go to our correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I'm doing really well. How about you?
Doing well.
Good.
And to reiterate, since we're not doing video yet, maybe someday we will. We haven't talked about that.
Ooh.
Only the ratings will go through the roof. We're audio only. We should confirm to our audience we are as naked as jaybirds and 11 every second of it, right?
Yes, we are. That's what naturists do.
You got it. Now, earlier in the show, before you came on just now, I read from an article that talked about, tell us the time you got caught naked in 5 words or less. It was kind of fun, funny, some things not so funny. But I thought, why don't we have a little fun with that? This is not really a naturist thing to get caught naked or to catch somebody else naked, but it is a naked thing, and the show is called Naked, Nudists and Naturists. So we don't want to offend any naturists out there if you're a pure naturist, and not to offend you. We're just having a little fun with being naked today. So I understand you have a couple of stories. I might have a story or two. And the one I want to hear from first, if you don't mind, is the time, and I know people will find this unbelievable. Like, did it really happen? But yeah, it really happened. The time you were told to go into the men's locker room for the basketball team at the University of Kentucky, and you saw a whole lot more than lockers and towels. Maybe just take it from there. What happened?
Well, that was an interesting day. I was a freshman. I was somehow or another managed to get to be the chair of the basketball committee on the Kentucky Bells.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pep organization. And I had made a cake that's had the beat our rivals on beat Tennessee on it. And I was walking down the hallway, and the coach at the time passed me by, or he was assistant coach at the time, passed me by and said, well, just take that on the locker room. They'll enjoy that. He says, they're still on the floor. So I go bebopping down. He says, right around there, just go through that door. So I go into there with this cake in my hand and walk smack dab into the basketball team, having come off the floor, and he probably knew it, and in all manner and stages of undress.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a rather naive 18-year-old who was like, oh my God, there were women who would have probably killed to do what I was doing. And I was petrified or shocked. I'm not sure petrified is the right word. But anyway, all of a sudden I was swarmed by these very, very tall, some not so clothed, some still in skivvies, men who were escorted me to the very far side of the dorm. Of the locker room where I put the cake down, and then they're all going, oh, look at this, and they're crowding around. And there was one particular player who was absolutely cute as he could be anyway. And he walked over and he said, ooh, what's this? And I said, brought you a cake. And, I'm probably quaking in my boots. And he had only a towel wrapped around him. And the next thing I knew, he said, ooh, I can't wait to have some of that after I have a shower. And he turned and walked into the shower room and whipped off his towel and turned back and looked at me and grinned. And so there was this naked man in front of me a few inches away. And I'm like, okay, I could get used to this. But anyway, it was one of those things where it's not what you expected. I never in 1,000 years thought I was going to see the team, much less walk into them in the middle of getting showers after their practice. So it was quite the unnerving experience. I did kind of walk out in a daze. I will give you that much.
Well, that time you were sent in by a coach and you were a little bit shocked. And now I think, I won't say this has actually happened, but is the rumor true that you've gone to the locker room multiple times since then and knocked on the door and said, please let me in, I have a cake, even though you didn't have a cake?
Begging is not really one of my fortes, but however, I'm not going to confirm nor deny that.
Okay. Well, I had one a few weeks ago, and I want to get your take on this. I hate to mention the fast food joint, but I will for expediency. I hardly ever go to fast food restaurants to begin with, of any kind. I just don't, for a lot of reasons, and mostly centering around health. But I had a day where I was driving around town. It was probably 100 degrees. Don't forget, it's Florida in the summertime.
And
And
it's
I was
hot.
hot. I was tired. I was frustrated. The day hadn't gone well. It involved buying paint. I kept getting shuffled from store to store to store. Nobody knew anything when I think everybody knew everything. They're just playing these games. And I wanted to get back home to enjoy the sun. And I realized my day's falling apart. I'm not going to have any sun time at all. So I'm just ticked off, frustrated, and hot. So I'm driving around and I just took my shirt off while I'm driving. Not really that unusual in Florida. It is legal. There's nothing inappropriate about that. Well, then I got hungry and I thought, I'm already ticked off today's shot anyway. What the heck? I'll go to McDonald's. Very rare for me to do that. So on the other side of town where I hardly ever go to begin with. So I'm there and I pulled through the drive-thru, made my order, went up to the window, and this woman at the register take my money. She said, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to call your wife and tell her you're not wearing any clothes." And I thought, what the heck? Is this a bad thing that I'm doing? I didn't think so. I know it's legal. And I said, no, actually, I have clothes on. I just don't have a shirt on. She goes, you got to be careful with the women at McDonald's. We can be kind of frisky. And then I realized she was kidding around. And then she said, thank you very much for coming to my window today. Please come back every day about this time. You would make my day. And she actually had some compliments for me. Now, my first reaction was, kind of petrified, like, am I doing the wrong thing here? And then second thing was, well, that's kind of nice. But will I ever go back there? Most likely never again. And if I do, I'll have a shirt on. Because that's not a naturist thing to show up and have people check out your body and make comments. That's the antithesis of naturism. But one of those moments, it happened, and now we have to live and deal with it, right?
And I think it's a good example of what does happen to naturists when we even attempt to think about going out in public, because the rest of the population sort of fixated on other things as opposed to when they see skin, as opposed to what we want them to. But that's hilarious.
Well, the other one I wanted you to mention briefly, we don't have a lot of time today. I wish we had more, but there were times when you were younger, I believe in high school, where you'd go to a swimming hole. There'd be lots of guys and lots of gals. And the guys just the guys just took it all off and went swimming. And it wasn't a sexual thing. It was as normal as apple pie and mom and dad, right?
Extremely so. My best friend and I, through a lot of reasons, she knew this family through church, was dating one of the guys. They had this great big pond, almost lake-like that, and these parents and our parents were all pretty smart. Hey, let's just give the kids a place to go during the summer where they can't get into trouble. We know where they are. We know what they're doing. So my friend and I were invited to come join them. We actually ended up doing this 2 or 3 times a week for the rest of the summer. Thank goodness. But anyway, so we're 15 years old. We're the youngest 2 there, besides the guys, the brothers. And they have a whole bunch of their friends over. They have a sister who has all of her senior friends over. So we thought we were being cool. And so we're just sitting there, and believe me, we had bikinis on. We were, sunbathing, and there all kinds of recreation to do their games and stuff. And all of a sudden, one of the guys yells, "Let's go swimming!" And the boys all got up and ran to this little dock area that they had, stripped off, and jumped in. And my friend and I were like, "What?
Did that just happen?"
And we remember looking over at the senior girls thinking, oh my God, they must be hysterical. And they're just chatting away and reading their magazines and listening to music and not paying a bit of attention. So we decided we had to be cool like they were and not act like there was anything big to, But let me put it this way. The rest of the summer, we saw an awful lot of naked rear ends and more. And got quite the, I guess, the education in some ways. And what I think it did is gave us a healthier attitude about nakedness than it would have had we never experienced that. And I think it could have gone either way. But at this point in time, it's like, hey, they took their pants off, they jumped in the pool, they got out, they dried off, they sat there and let the sun dry them off. No one was embarrassed, no one was upset, and there was never in that environment ever any kind of sexual overtone to any of it. It was just fun. And for 2 15-year-old girls, educational.
Yes. Who needs books or videos at that point, right?
Nope.
But to me, that's what naturism is all about. These guys didn't get naked and dance around and whip things around and look at me. And it was just normal to them to take their
Absolutely.
clothes off and go swimming. And it was normal to everybody else there, including all females except you and your friend the first time around. Did it ever get to the point where it became normal? Okay, I'm going to the swimming hole, a bunch of naked guys, whatever, let me read a book. Or were you still
I
a little
think
bit
after
enthralled
the
for a while?
shock wore off,
Yeah.
and then perhaps the novelty wore off. And like I said, we were there 2 or 3 days a week during the summer.
Yeah.
Our mothers loved it because we were safe and we were
Yeah.
where there was an adult nearby. And although the mom there didn't show up very often, but she did bring lunch. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think it became just accepted and nothing out of the ordinary and nothing wrong with it. It was never. Now, did we tell our parents? No, but maybe they knew already. I don't know. But for us, it became just something that, and so from that point on, it's never been an issue for me. If someone I've been on the beach in the west coast of Florida before when a lot of German tourists were there, and they're very used to getting in the water, coming out, stripping off their wet suit, and then drying off and putting on another suit or a pair of shorts.
Right.
And so that never phased me when I saw that. Of course, it became a big thing there, and the police got involved, and it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. But no, I think that experience sort of helped me not be fearful or shocked by people being naked. And that maybe
Yes.
helped
Yes.
me get to where I am today.
Yeah, and I've heard that from a lot of women that when they were around naked males, whether their dad or their brothers in the home or uncles, totally appropriate behavior,
Hmm.
they grew up with a healthier outlook on life. They weren't intimidated or scared by a male, and certainly not by a naked male. They'd seen it a million times, been there, done that. Let's just have a relationship.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's the key. Now, that was, to me, that was a naturist activity. Whether it was set to, obviously, I don't think it was set to be that way on purpose, but it was. It was people getting naked, enjoying the clothes-free living life for what it is, right? For the right
Yeah,
reasons.
I agree. And while it was mostly the guys, I don't think, we were sitting there with little scraps of cloth on for
Yeah.
bikinis. So, I mean, it might as well
Yeah.
have taken those off, but that was just
Yeah.
not done then. And, uh,
Right.
it was acceptable for boys, but not acceptable for girls, apparently.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Sad but
but
true.
it was fun. It was shocking. The conversation we had on the phone that night after we both got home was
Yeah.
interesting because we were trying to keep our excitement down and
Right.
still
Right.
chat about what we'd seen and not let anybody overhear us. So,
Yeah.
but it was fun. It was fun, and I enjoyed it.
All right, great naturist activity. Maybe we'll share some more of these stories down the road. Been Lisa Monroe, our correspondent, having a little naked fun today. And Lisa, go out there and stay extra naked today, tonight, tomorrow, until we see you again. How's that sound for a plan?
That sounds wonderful, Frank. And you too enjoy
Absolutely.
the freedom of being a naturist.
You got it. Have a great day, Lisa. We'll see you next time.
You too, Frank. Bye.
What a true joy to have on the show. We get a lot of comments about Lisa Monroe. Just alive and well and naked and enjoying the clothes-free life and enjoying life itself and embracing it for all it is. And we have Lisa Monroe with us every single show. And again, we have a brand new show for you every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time is when it hits. And we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon/Audible. Any one of those 4 platforms, just type us in, and don't forget to subscribe. That way you get a notification to remind you on a Saturday morning, oh yeah, as I'm making my eggs and toast, I want to fire up Naked, Nudist, and Naturist. How about that? We got a couple of other comments I wanted to pass along. And again, you can write to us. There are so many ways to get a hold of us. You can do it through our website. You can leave a comment there, which is nakednudistandnaturists.com. You can email us, nakedforevermore@gmail.com. Lisa and I share the same email address. I'm the one who mostly goes to it, and I answer those emails. But if it's something specifically for her, then I send it to her and or tell her about it, and then she answers you. Nakedforevermore@gmail.com is our email address. And you can also leave comments on Spotify. And here are 2 comments from Spotify. A guy named Jojo said, great conversations. Glad to see more naturist-oriented content out there! Exclamation point. Nice job keeping it interesting and oriented to common first-timer questions. Well, thank you, Jojo. Well, we appreciate that. Another gentleman named Joe, not the same guy, different last name. This is amazing. As a naturist myself, I am so excited to see a podcast about my favorite subject. Well, we're glad we can bring it to you. We appreciate those comments. So do you have a comment? Do you have a question? Do you have a suggestion? We want to hear from you. We want to interact with our listeners. We want to interact with you. Yes, you. We're looking right at you. We want to interact with you. So send us a note on our website, nakednudistsandnaturist.com, on Spotify, or our email address, nakedforevermore@gmail.com. Well, let's get to part 2 now of my interview with the terrific Dan Hawkins, a longtime naturist. 38 years he's been working as a nude model, mostly for art classes. He's also been a regular naked attendee of the Beta Breakers, a deal out in San Francisco every year for the last several years, and basically is naked 25 hours a day unless he has to put on clothes, and if he does, he does. Same here. Same with you, I would imagine, if you're a naturist. You put on clothes when you have to, and you get those babies off as soon as possible and keep them off for as long as possible. He's also a writer, an author of naturist fiction, terrific books. We invite you to check them out. I've already checked one of them out myself, and I can vouch for the fact that he is a terrific writer. So let's get to part 2 now of my interview with Dan Hawkins, who goes by the pen name D.H. Jonathan. And if you look back, just during the times that you and I have been alive, we're roughly the same age. I call myself 27, and nobody believes me, but what the heck? Let's go with it. We're both 27 today.
Yeah,
but look,
sounds good to me.
Look at the changes that have occurred. For example, when I was a kid, middle school, high school, as a male, if I would have put an earring on, I probably would have been pummeled behind the school and left for dead, because males didn't do that back then. And now it seems like in the cool society anyway, if you're a guy and you're not wearing some jewelry on your face, there's something wrong with you. So that's totally transformed as well, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's funny how fashion trends tend to change.
Yeah.
Like I'm still kind of unusual in that I have no tattoos or body. I don't have any piercings either, so I don't have any jewelry or tattoos. I'm as plain as I can get, and I tell people, I said, well, I don't like the permanence of tattoos. If I could just slap one on, take it off, I would be less opposed to it. But what's the tattoos there? It's there forever, and I like being in my most natural form for the art classes. I don't want them distracted by any tattoos on my body, so I stay that way for that a lot. That and I don't like needles, so.
I remember my dad telling me, in no uncertain terms, if I even thought about having a tattoo, my life could end right at that moment. He would take me out. So that eliminated that as a possibility. But you're right. Now, men and women, boys and girls, have tattoos. It's almost, if you don't have a tattoo, you're a little bit on the outlier side, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, most of the people I see are, especially the younger. My son, he turns 24 next month. He's got a tattoo now. So, and his wife has several tattoos.
Yeah,
so it's just part of the fashion of today, I guess.
Yeah. So the question is, if we can totally transform that and go from whatever it used to be to 180 degrees different, can we do it with clothing? Everybody has to be clothed. Can we ever get to the point where nobody's clothed, or you have your choice and nobody even looks a second time?
I would love it if we could, but you've got the legal issues. It's illegal to be nude in a lot of places now. You've got the societal thing. You've got this association with sex now that, if you're naked, then there must be something sexual going on, which is not the case. But that's the way it's perceived. And because that's the way it's perceived in the media, we don't see nude scenes hardly, unless it's for comedy or showing part of a sexual situation. It's very rare to see just a nudity in a casual sense portrayed in our films.
Right. But can we get to that point where, the laws change and where society's view changes, like they've changed on tattoos and like they've changed on piercings, especially for guys? Do you think in our lifetime or the next series of lifetimes we'll get to the point where, hey, you guys wear whatever you want. You don't have to wear anything at all and everything's fine. And the bus arrives at 12 o'clock. Make sure you're on it for work. Any hope?
I would like to get there. I'm trying to make it happen as much as I can possibly do it. So it's one of the reasons why I write the books that I've written so far, just to show that naked is our natural state, and it doesn't have to come with a sexual connotation. It's more about freedom and comfort than it is anything else.
And that might be the one obstacle a lot of people have trouble getting over. Yeah, you mentioned a couple of things there. Nudity equals sex. Your clothes are off. Oh boy, he's looking for someone to have sex with, and no, that has nothing to do with it. And until you're in the lifestyle, I guess you don't really fully embrace that. If I'm nude somewhere and some nude woman comes up, it's not like, hey, let's duck behind the bushes, and none of that even comes to my mind. But a lot of people still in society who are not naturists, they think that's what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, but I think there is hope that is changing. I went to a festival in April this year. Okay. It was related to ecstatic dance, and ecstatic dance is a practice that it's going on in a lot of yoga studios. It's kind of like a dance yoga type thing. It's they advertise it. It's not a club scene. You're just dancing to. It's kind of like a spiritual thing, and I don't go into the whole Zen stuff, but I went to this festival because they had different workshops during the festival. One of their workshops was naked yoga, and so I knew that they allowed nudity, and I asked about it, if you can be naked there, especially during the dances, because I have asked some of the organizers of the more regular just ecstatic dance evenings or the sessions if I could dance naked, because you say you allow all walks of life. Well, I'm a nudist.
Yeah,
I would like to dance naked, and the answer is always no, because of the fear. They're afraid of losing their venue. They're afraid of upsetting someone. So the answer is always no. So I went to this festival. It was like a 4-day camp there, and I went. And after I got there, I got naked right away almost, and went and danced the first evening. The next morning I got up and walked to the vendor area. I was naked the whole time. And I was the only one naked. There's about 200-300 people at this thing, and I'm the only naked guy. But occasionally I saw a young lady naked like the afternoon of the second day. And then I started seeing more people, not very many, 2-3 who got naked. And for the evening dances, I was the only one naked the first 2 nights. And then I think the third or fourth night, I saw the same young lady, and then 2 other guys got naked during the dances. But even people who didn't get naked would walk up to me and tell me that just seeing me made them feel like they could be free.
Yeah.
That they didn't have to conform to what society expects. And like I say, there was never anything sexual about anything. It was just, well, I'm the naked guy, and this young lady took her clothes off, and we talked, and she was actually, it was in Texas, but she had come from the San Francisco Bay Area with her boyfriend, fiance, I don't know what he was to her, and he didn't get naked, but she did. And she didn't stay naked long. She would get naked in short little stretches. But whatever you're comfortable with, it was a wonderful experience, just mixing nudism with a textile event. That's one of the reasons why I like Beta Breakers, because they tolerate nudists. But they let nudists be nudists, but they let them in. It's a huge textile event, and you don't get to mix that often, the nudists and textiles, because the problem nudism has is they have to get people to go to the resorts or to the beaches or to whatever nudist venue it is to experience it. We can't have a nudist event and invite the public, the regular textile public, so that they can see it. They have to come to the resorts to experience it.
That's very well said. Yeah, that have to make a conscious effort to get there.
Yeah. So I'm always kind of watching for events like that where you can bring nudism out to the world.
Yeah.
To show them, I'm naked, but I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to pick up anyone.
Exactly.
Or, I've been married for 24 years,
yeah, exactly.
so I'm happily married. So I'm just naked.
That's right.
And that's all.
That's right.
There's no nefarious intent behind it, or it's just a comfort thing. I just like being naked, and this is who I am. And like I said, I've modeled for art classes for as long as I have. I'm used to being the only naked person in a room of people, or a gathering of people, and I've used to being naked among other naked people. So I have a comfort level that a lot of people don't have because of that. I think.
Yeah, definitely so. Well, you mentioned you have nefarious intent when you get naked in a textile situation, and that's an important point. You have no more nefarious intent than the guy or the gal with jeans and a sweatshirt on. It's exactly the same. You're just living the life you want to lead, right?
Yeah. And I was very happy to see that most of the people at this Ecstatic Forest festival that I went to saw that and recognized that and were positive with it. And I heard, I didn't even hear anything negative just in passing. If you walk by somebody and you kind of hear them whispering or something negative, I didn't even hear that. Everything I heard was positive.
That's great.
So
I wonder how many people, there's no way to quantify this, but maybe you have some insight. You go to Beta Breakers and you're as naked can be. And somebody else thinks, I could never do that. But they see you doing it. They see you very comfortable doing it and just living the life. I wonder how many people have been inspired. This Dan guy, this Dan Hawkins, got naked and seemed to love every second of it. I think I'll try it. Has anybody shared stories like that with you? I guarantee you've inspired some. I just don't know if they've told you about it.
Well, the first young woman at the Ecstatic Forest Festival that I saw naked, besides me, I talked to her a little bit about it, and she said, I came and I wanted to be naked, but I was afraid to until I saw you just walking around naked, just casually. And so that inspired me it made me feel comfortable. It made me feel like I could do it.
That's great. What about Beta Breakers? Anybody along those lines out there?
Yeah. I've talked to people and they always say that they would love to, but they just couldn't. Now there was one young woman I talked to for a little while in, I think it was the 2010 or 11. It's been a while. And we talked about nudity, and she asked me, I told her I go to nudist resorts all the time. I model nude for our classes, so I'm naked a lot. Yeah. And she said she likes to be naked a lot, and she started taking off her clothes. Yeah. Like she got down to just a pair of little bottoms, bikini briefs, whatever it was. So she got topless and she walked a little ways just because she was talking to me.
Yeah.
So she put everything back on pretty quick because it was pretty cool that day.
Yeah.
temperatures at Beta Breakers are sometimes not conducive to nudity.
True.
But we do it anyway.
That's right. Well, not to be Captain Obvious, but once we normalize things, it becomes normal. It's like, one of those duh moments. I don't know why people didn't think of it before. But when is that Beta Breaker? Is that typically in May or so?
It's typically the third Sunday in May.
Yeah, I thought so.
Everyone I've done has been the third Sunday in May.
Okay.
Now in 2020, they had like a golf tournament in the Bay Area, so they were going to move it back to the last Sunday in May, and then everything got canceled. Golf tournament, Beta Breaker, everything because of the pandemic. Yeah. So almost always the third Sunday in May.
Okay, so when you show up there, I'm guessing, well, maybe I shouldn't be guessing. you get a room, you mentioned a hostel. So do you walk naked from the hostel? You walk out the front door naked, or do you get to the Beta Breakers race first and then take your clothes off? And if so, where do you put them?
No, well, I carry a little first couple of years, I carried this little bitty backpack, well, not a backpack, but just a little bitty pack about the size of a purse, I guess. Okay. I would carry that. I just wear shorts and a t-shirt, right, and I'd take them off and stuff them in there. And then I'd carry that the whole race. Okay. Like I said, it was 2012 when I did that, and I walked back naked. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, well, next year I'm just going to be naked the whole time. I'll walk from the hostel to the Beta Breakers. Yeah. Well, then they passed that ordinance. Like you had to be in a permanent event to be naked. So that put the kibosh on that. Yeah. There are a few years when I just wore a little bikini brief underwear or whatever, bikini briefs. and I would take them off, fold them up, and put them under my hat
Okay.
because I did wear a hat.
Yeah.
And then I would put them back on for the walk back to the hostel after the race. Yeah. But that got a little dicey when I was walking through the Tenderloin area. It's not, it's there's certain areas in San Francisco where, you don't want to walk.
Yeah.
Anyway,
ever.
Yeah. You certainly don't want to walk naked or minimally clothed. But it's hard to get around those and without greatly lengthening your walk. So the last 2 years I've just had like a little Target bag or grocery sack, and I've worn shorts and a t-shirt and put them in that and just carried that for the race.
Okay, well that makes sense. And then when it's over, you can put them back on if you have to. But if you don't have to, you can leave them off as well, right?
Yeah. I usually stay naked until a police officer says, "Oh, you got to put clothes on now."
Yeah. Well, is that what they do there? They don't say, "Hey, come over here. I'm giving you a ticket," or "You're under arrest." They just say, "Hey, Dan, put some clothes on, buddy." Are they at least friendly enough to do that?
Yeah. Especially at the Beta Breakers event, because they know it's in the marketing now. The mile marker signs the last 2 years have had something to do with nudity on at least one of them during the race.
Well, maybe after all these years, it is becoming normal. You go to Beta Breakers to either get naked or watch naked people.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you plan to do with your books now? You have some of those featuring naturism, nude people. You have more coming out. I saw something. It might have been a little video you put out. You're coming up with a mystery which has nothing to do with naturism. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, I'm working on a suspense thriller. Yeah, okay. It's got a serial killer in it and an FBI agent, but it's also got a couple, man and wife, and they are nudists in the book. And there are a couple of scenes in the novel that take place at a nudist resort, but it's going to be more marketed toward a mainstream thriller audience. Kind of like a James Patterson or Thomas Harris, Silence of the Lambs type book. So I will market that beyond just the niche. I've targeted my marketing for my last 3 books to the naturist more than anybody, which is a small niche market, right. And they've done pretty well because it's like a market that's been underserved in literary terms, and there are some other writers who started a naturist fiction website, and I know one of them personally. Will Forrest. He's written three novels. Oddly enough, 3 novels. Yeah. And in fact, we've shared a table at the fall festival at Oak Lake Trails Nudist Resort in Oklahoma. Okay. He's actually when he's not writing naturist fiction, he's a professor at the University of Tulsa. Oh, wow. And we've shared a table and sold books there. Okay. Naturist books. My 3 novels, his 3 novels, and there's some anthologies of short stories that he's been an editor on, and I've contributed to the last 2. The last one was Adventures Without Clothes, just an anthology of short stories, adventure stories by different naturist authors. The one before that was Holiday in the Nudist Colony. They used the term nudist colony kind of tongue in cheek, but in the titles. So I contributed to both of those, and then there were 2 before that I was too busy to contribute to: Murder in the Nudist Colony and Romance at the Nudist Colony. And so he's always had copies of those since he's one of the editors, and we've sold. We do pretty well at the fall festival. Even on repeat visits. Because we're selling the same books mostly, unless we've got a new one out, and we do pretty well selling even as the years have gone by. We've sold quite a few books. And I think it's the collaboration, that we've got more than one author at this table. So it gives them a greater selection, I think.
Yeah, I do too. And you mentioned it's a niche market. And I think there's a huge calling within that market. We need more information. We need more books. We need more shows like this. We need more information. We need a lot of stuff. And it's people like you and Will Forrest, who will be on the show, by the way, not too far down the road.
Okay.
You're fulfilling that need. People have a need for this, and where do they go? They go to the internet, type in naturist, and who knows what comes up. There's a lot of stuff that's not naturist, but comes up with a naturist search. And the fact that you're actually putting legitimate naturism books out there, it gives them fuel. It triggers and it exactly fulfills what they need. At least that's how I see it. Do you agree with that? People are clamoring for this kind of information?
Yeah, I think so. And not just information, but entertainment. Mm-hmm. they want to seek some kind of representation. They want to see people who think like them and do the same things in their entertainment, whether it's reading or movies or whatever. One of the guy I walked with, the Beta Breakers, Tim Chismar, he wrote, produced, and directed and starred in a movie called The Noodles of Noodland,
right.
kind of a comedy, nudist comedy. In fact, he got Stefan Deshane to do a little cameo in it. He asked me to do one, but I would have had to shoot it myself. I just didn't know what to do, so I didn't do it. But he says he's gonna put me in his next nudist movie.
Oh, good.
I'll drive out there and do it. So
isn't he the same guy who did Naked stand-up comedy? Is he the same guy?
Oh yeah. He's got a series coming soon. Okay. That I hope does well, because I'm an associate producer on it. So I'll make some money if it does well. Yeah. I think he's calling it Naked and Not Afraid.
Oh, very good. Okay. I thought, I remember hearing that name. He's been on Stefan Deshane's show before, and so I've heard him there as well as some other shows. And he seems to be loving and living the naturist life, but loving every second of it too. And I figure if you can get in front of a crowd totally naked and do stand-up comedy, you're pretty darn secure within yourself. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do the comedy, because I don't know if I could just stand there and be funny.
Yeah.
I've done naked karaoke, but usually it's always at nudist resorts, and everybody else is naked too, or most everybody else is naked.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to mention. I've talked to men and women who have performed naked as musicians. The guitar players, singers, whatever they do, and sometimes they'll perform in a nudist colony where everybody is nude and no problem. But sometimes they'll perform at a venue where only they're nude and the audience is clothed. Now that's a totally different dynamic, and takes a different degree of confidence or confidence that you're doing the right thing with naturism, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. But I've done a lot of that art modeling, especially during the shorter poses. It's almost like a dance, because I'm only holding a pose for a minute. Yeah. So I tend to do these action-oriented poses that I couldn't hold for a long time. So it's almost like a performance, except that I don't have to speak or sing or anything. I just hold the pose but I'm the only one naked, and everybody else is clothed, and that is the dynamic. But I've done it for 38 years, so I'm used to it. In fact, one of the other book projects I've got that I'm contemplating is writing a memoir of my art modeling experiences. Oh, okay. Thinking about doing that and putting it out for my 40th anniversary as an art model.
Okay.
Which would come in November of 24, I guess. Okay. I don't know if I'll actually get the book ready by then, but that's one of the things I want to do.
Okay. Well, of course, the big fantasy out there, and again, we get into fantasy. It's not naturism, it's not reality, but the fantasy is as Dan or as me. We go into an art class, we whip off the robe, we're naked as heck, and the women just flock to us, and they all want to go out with us after the art class and have dinner and get to know us, and maybe get married, before the night is over. That's not exactly reality, is it?
Oh, no, never was. Less so now that I'm, whatever age I'm at, 27, you said.
We're 27,
but, really a lot more than that. But I've never been approached after a class.
Yeah. And nor should you be.
I'm the model.
Yeah. That would be very inappropriate. I knew a woman who taught yoga, and she had some nude yoga classes. And I said, well, why don't I just show up? She goes, no, you can't, because I know you personally. She goes, had you come to the class first, that would have been no problem. But the fact that you and I are friends, no, it would be inappropriate. I'm not sure if I agree with her, but at the same time, I understood her reasoning.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree with her either. Yeah. But one of my jobs is I was a librarian at a small little tech school. Mm-hmm. They had different programs, and they had an art program, and one of the art professors was there. It's more like graphic design than anything else. Mm-hmm. But after I left that job, I modeled nude for a class at another school, and lo and behold, she was the teacher.
Oh, wow. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, it's been great to talk to you today. I've followed your career as a naturist, not knowing it was you, just as a guy on the internet. There he is again, the Beta Breakers. Every year he pops up with more photos. And very impressive how you're leading the life of a naturist and enjoying every second of it. And your pen name, of course, D.H. Jonathan. We want people to get all of your books today. And D.H. Jonathan / Dan Hawkins. Tell our listeners how they can find your books and buy all of them today.
Well, they're all on Amazon. The Volunteer's available in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook. The other two, Life Models and The Girl Who Stopped Wearing Clothes, are just in paperback and Kindle. You can find them on Amazon. You can go to my website, which is dhjonathan.com, and there are links to order the books there through Amazon. That's where you can find me.
Okay, well, good. I would ask you what your wardrobe is planned out for the rest of the week and the weekend, but I think I already know.
Yeah,
Nothing at all, right? If possible.
Yeah. Nothing at all, as often as I can be, but shorts and a t-shirt when I have to go out into the public.
Yeah, sad but true. Same here. Well,
yeah, I've got several shirts that are nudist related. One that says "Clothes suck." Another one says "I'd rather be naked." One has a quote, that Michelangelo quote that the foot is more noble than the shoe, and it's got the whole quote on it.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite shirts, and that I've kind of worn it out almost. It's the collar's getting frayed, but it's one of my favorites.
I think the shirt "I'd rather be naked" just says it all. Like, here I am. Yeah. I have to wear a dumb shirt. I'm wearing this one. And as soon as I get home, this shirt's disappearing. So have at it, right?
Yeah.
Says it all. Well, again, great to talk to you. You're admired here at the studio for your stance on naturism and nudism and getting out there and doing it. And in some ways, whether you know it or not, fighting the good fight, proving that naturism is normal. It is natural. And so my advice to everybody, just take off your clothes and enjoy the clothes-free life for all of the right reasons. And you're certainly doing that, aren't you?
I try, like I said, I love being an art model. I love the job. It's something that I don't anticipate ever quitting or retiring from unless I just can't physically hold a pose anymore.
Yeah.
I'll be at Nudist Resort. I'm on the board of directors of Anner Southwest now.
Okay.
I was the convention and facilities chair this last year, so it was my idea to get this 20-foot inflatable water slide for our convention that seemed to have been a big hit.
Yeah, good.
I write articles for the Bulletin occasionally. I'm not in every issue, but I've got a couple of articles already submitted, and I've got to write a convention report. So yeah, I'm out there.
All right. Well, you mentioned, as it gets tougher to hold a pose, you might not be able to do anymore. And I should tell you, from what I've heard, you're almost 28, and once you hit 28, it starts to go downhill. So you might be done.
No. Yeah, well, I'll try to keep exercising
right.
and whatnot. I saw Mick Jagger turned 80 years old yesterday, and he's still bouncing around on stage like he's 20-something. So
if he can do it, we can do it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, great to talk to you again, Dan Hawkins. We want you to check out his books written by D.H. Jonathan, and it's dhjonathan.com as well as Amazon. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Get his books today and continue to live the clothes-free life for all the right reasons. And Dan Hawkins, thank you very much, sir. And let's do this again down the road. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank you. Isn't he absolutely terrific? You can tell he loves the naturist life, loves to be naked, loves to live clothes-free, and why not? It's the best way to go. That's why we do this show, and we encourage you to live the clothes-free life as often as possible. If you can do it 25 hours a day, do it. I certainly do. Lisa Monroe certainly does. Jennifer Hill here at the studio. Other people work here at the studio as well. Same thing. Clothes-free life, always appropriate, never inappropriate, never even a thought along those lines. Just enjoying social and naturism, literally stripping away all of the facades, the nonsense, the baloney, just naked as jaybirds, working hard, doing a great job, and living the clothes-free life. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 8 today. I thank you for being with us. A brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.